Hello and welcome back. This is episode 3 of how to knit a pair of socks, at least the way I knit a pair of socks. My regular channel obviously is Sit and Knit for a Bit, and I am your host, Melissa. This episode I am going to show you how to do the actual heel of the toe. So this is my project. It is the same project, it's just in a different bag this time. This one's just working out a little bit better. I went for a hike and finished up the increases for the heel, and so I have the little carabiner here, and actually I just realized that there is a name here. Mid Miller Designs is this bag. I got it years ago. I really like it because it's got the plastic see-through part, and you can even see the inside of the little sheeps of the inside material. And then I have my Women in Aviation pin there. So let me pull out my sock. If you have not finished doing the increases for your heel, you need to finish those first before watching this video. Let me just grab a knitting needle. And I'm going to grab the other sock to let you know, show you where we are at with this process. Excuse the dog hair. So what we have here, I'll flip this over, is you should have done, I don't know if you can see it, you should have done the toe, which was our first video. And then I told you to knit the foot to 2 inches before your desired length. And then you'll start your increases, which are right here. You will increase on the back needles until you have 28 stitches on each of the back needles. Remember, for us, that was the B needle and the little star. We left the turtle and the sheep alone. We didn't do anything different except just continue on in our pattern. So that is where you should be. We are actually right here with our knitting, and then we're going to do this part right here. And so it's going to be pretty simple. It's actually going to be a lot of knitting back and forth. We will not be knitting in the round anymore because we are going to be concentrating on just 2 of the needles, which are, once again, the back needles. But before then, I'm going to drink my tea. This is a new tea. It's very light. I don't think I added enough. It's still fragrant. I think next time I will just add a little bit more. Right now, it just tastes like warm water. So I will learn to add a little bit more. I think probably the amount I added in my little tea, I don't know what you call that thing, the little mesh thing, was probably enough for like 1 cup. So, but this is the tea. I got it today, just tea, and I got the little berry hibiscus flavor, and I mean it's good. I just don't taste much. And I probably should have mixed it more. I see there's a lot of little pieces down here, where there's bigger pieces up here, but well, I'll do a better job next time. It's just nice to have something to drink. Maybe as it steeps more in my teapot, it will get better. Okay, so let's get started. I will walk you through this entire session. I will not leave you because it is one of those things that it might be confusing if I just have you, okay, continue on. So, all right. So, like I said, you should have 28 stitches on both the back needles, which is this one and this one. Here, that might be better. Back needles are this one and this one. You should have 28 on these 2 needles. These should have the same number whether you did the 15 or the 16 stitches. So this is kind of our beginning of the round over here. Remember, with the turtle. And then we are going to knit across the first 2 needles. So we'll knit across our turtle needle. Stay within pattern. If you are doing a pattern, go ahead and stay within that pattern. Sorry, I thought it was in between there. And I'm sorry, last time I was sitting and had the yarn and or the knitting too far down, so hopefully I'm not doing that again. I will try to be better at that. And excuse the dogs, I have the window right over here open because it's kind of a warm day, and I was doing some household chores and got a little hot. It doesn't help that I'm drinking hot tea. That doesn't really taste like anything. All right. It's because someone's driving down the street. Okay, so we have stayed in pattern on the first needle. Now we will go to the second needle, which is our sheep, and we will also stay in pattern on this needle. We're pretty much just getting back to the back needles is what we're doing right now. At least that's how I view it. No one has left any comments that I'm aware of on any of these videos so far, so I assume that everything is going just fine, that no one is having issues, at least if there is anybody that is following. I actually had more people watch the second video than the first video, which I find hilarious. I'm wondering if there was a couple people that didn't really know what they were doing, or maybe there was somebody that was watching it more than one time. I don't know if that's how it shows up. I'm assuming it does. So maybe that's it. Maybe somebody was rewatching that video. Okay, so we are now to needle 3, which is our B needle, and the pattern tells us to knit across this one, and then a little bit of this one, and I end up keeping it on one needle. I'll show you. So just bear with me. So pretty much knit across this needle. Do not increase or anything like that. We've already done all our increases. This will take a little bit of time because there is 28 stitches I need to knit across. Sorry, it feels more comfortable for me cinching that down. I think the needle doesn't poke me in the hand. So if you ever watch me actually knit socks, that's what I do, and I like do it automatically. I've done so many socks. I am curious how many people knit continental and how many people knit English style, so please let me know. I always get them confused, so I couldn't even tell you right now. I think I'm knitting English style. I don't know. For some reason, I cannot keep that in my head. Like, I always get that backwards. Hold on. I'm working with a ball that just rolled on the floor. Hang on just a second. Let me grab a yarn bowl and I'll be right back. I usually knit from like a cake, and so I don't have as much problem. But this project, the cake kind of fell apart, or maybe it didn't come as a cake. Maybe it came as a I don't remember. And so, yeah, not used to balls rolling around. Hardy, hard. Okay. So we've knit across those, which is 28 stitches. The pattern says to knit to 31 stitches. So I'm actually going to set this needle aside. We don't need that anymore. We are going to be working on this needle, which is our B needle, and then this needle, which is our star needle. Okay? And we are going to leave the turtle and sheep alone. We are going to ignore those. We are literally going to go back and forth on these two needles. Okay. So once again, we need to knit until 31 stitches, which we already have 28. Remember that? All right, so 28. So this is going to be 29. This one's going to be 30. And then this one's going to be 31. All right, this is where things get fun. So once you've knitted 31 stitches, then you are going to, on the knitting side, or the outside, whichever one is easier for you to remember, you are going to do a slip knit to decrease, which is also known as an SSK. So we're going to slip this one, And then we're going to slip this other one. And then we are going to, I knit like this. I knit them that way. You're supposed to like put them back on this needle and then knit them. I just do it this way. Okay? And then knit that one. And then you're going to knit one more after that decrease. Okay? So we've got 31 stitches. We've got our slip, slip, knit, decrease right here. And then a regular knit. Now we are going to turn the work. So we're actually going to be working like on the inside. Okay. Obviously these are purls. And so we're going to be purling. We are always going to slip that first stitch. So just slip it like normal. And then we're going to we're going to purl 7 stitches. 1. Let me just cinch those down. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And 7. This will become a little bit easier. There'll be less stitches on these needles, and so it won't be as cumbersome because we will be decreasing, so it's going to get better. Okay, so purl 7 stitches. Then we are going to purl 2 together. That's going to be our purl side decrease. Purl 2 together, and then purl 1. Okay. Now we're going to turn the work again. And we're going to work on the knitted side. Once again, we are going to slip that first stitch. And then we are actually, to tell you the truth, I could not tell you the number of stitches. But if you look, there is a little gap right here. Let me use the other knitting needle, and I'm going to show you. There's a gap right here. And it will become a little bit more prevalent as you get used to it. Let me see if I can move it up. I don't know if it focuses or not. Here, maybe in the light. That little gap right there, we are literally going to knit until one before that gap. Okay. I have the pattern written down somewhere, but I just remember that to knit to one before the gap. Not there yet. When you get there, it's a little bit easier to see that gap. Or 3-way. See how there's that big gap? We can definitely see. So we got 2 more. Now 1 more. All right. Now we're going to do that same knitted decrease because here's that gap. We're going to grab the one before the gap, and after the gap is our decrease. Okay? So slip, slip, and then I knit this way. Whatever works best for you. To me, it's just I eliminate 1 step. Okay, we've done our decrease, and then we're going to knit 1. All right. You can see our 2 decreases, 1 right here, and then 1 right there. Then we're going to turn our work, and we're going to do the same thing. We are going to slip the first stitch, and then purl until one before the gap. So slip, and then purl. You see our gap right here. So we've got 3 more to do. All right. And then we're going to do our purl side decrease, which is purl 2 together. And then purl 1. And then turn the work. We are pretty much going to be doing this until we end up at the end. But I will walk you through each step. Let me pour some more tea real quick. Hopefully I have a little bit more color. Looks like rose water. It's actually hibiscus. So it is a flower. There's definitely some more flavor that time, so that's good. All right, we had just turned our work. So what do? We slip that first stitch. And and then knit until the gap, or the one before the gap. I'm sure you can hear my dog's roughhousing in the background. The house is vibrating, but whatever makes him happy. And see, that gap is getting a little bit easier to see as well. All right. So we're going to grab the one before and the one after the gap, but we are on the knit side, so we are going to do our slip, slip, knit. And then knit one. Turn our work. Slip one purlwise, and then purl to one before the gap. Oops, I think I'm in between. Something didn't quite feel right with that one. There, that's better. I'm not used to such thick yarn. I think I've mentioned that this yarn is just slightly thicker than fingering. It might actually be a sport weight, so it's a little thick for me. But it causes me to go a little bit slower for you. And I think it makes a good stitch definition for you guys to see, so hopefully it's working out just fine. You can see our gap. We've got one more to do. And then the one before and the one after, we are going to purl together. And then purl one. If you are doing fine and totally understand this, you're more than welcome to cut out. If that's the case, after you have finished, after you get to the ends, sometimes it doesn't, if you're off by a stitch, sometimes you have like an extra stitch, just kind of finagle with it, decrease if you need to make sure you get back to your original number of stitches on each knitting needle. And then you'll be here, essentially. And then you'll just start knitting in the round back in your pattern. If you actually had an actual like textured pattern or something here, I recommend doing it all the way around now, because you'll be doing this part of the leg. And so then I usually do 2 inches. Do whatever you want, however long you want them to be. I usually do like 2 inches of the leg and then like 2 inches of the cuff, or sometimes 1.5. I change it up just depending. But just knit as long as you want this section to be. And then I will make another video and show you how to do some ribbing. And then I'll do a last video to show you how to cast off, which will be like the most simplest, quickest. But anyway, I will, if you want to stick around, I will show you all the way. And then I might even do one full round first to kind of just show you. But if not, if you want to deck out early, continue with what I'm showing you, and then knit the leg section however long you want, and whatever pattern you want. This thing says makes 40 cups, makes 40 cups, and then you can re-steep them for another 80? That's interesting. I'm sorry, I was reading. All right, we should have just turned our work. So we are going to slip that first needle and then knit until one before the gap. I hope everybody is doing well. It is the first weekend of November, and we just had the time change. I hope everybody is getting close to finishing their Christmas gift knitting. All right, one before the gap, we are going to do a slip, slip, knit. Knit one and turn our work. Anyway, I hope everybody is doing just fine with their Christmas gift knitting. Slip one and then because I know that getting gifts done in time can be a very stressful thing. I know a lot of us try to start early, kind of get ahead of the game. Some of us even start in the summer, or even like, I don't know. Has anybody ever like started knitting somebody something, like this year of Christmas, but it's going to be a gift for next year, like a year away? I want to know. Leave me a comment. I'm curious about that. I have not personally done that. Usually around this time, I have some kind of order for somebody that wants something knitted for them. So this year I don't, which is kind of nice. I can just knit for myself. All right. Once again, we are at 1 before the gap. So we are going to do our purl 2 together, our purl 1, and then turn our work. We are steadily going through all these stitches on each needle. So the middle section is getting longer, but the stitches remaining are getting smaller. All right, slip the first one, and then we're going to knit until, you guessed it, 1 before the gap. If you feel like it's easier to work on, because this is a little weird doing only technically 3 needles. I'm sorry about my dogs. There's probably a cat in the neighborhood. You're more than welcome to introduce back another knitting needle. It is a little bit cumbersome, but I just kind of put up with it. But whatever works best for you. And, heck, you could be working on magic loops, so I have no idea. All right, 1 before. Remember, that gap keeps getting a little bit bigger and bigger, and that's fine. There, it does not leave a gap. You can see our decreases right here. It is not leaving any gap whatsoever. There tends to be somewhat of a gap when you meet back up, but I kind of do some extra slip stitches to try to combat that. All right, slip, slip, knit. I'm scooting these stitches up. Make sure I go in between them, and then knit 1. Turn the work. Slip the first one and purl across. So yeah, yesterday I went for a hike with my dog Olive. We had a really good time. It was a 4.1 mile hike, so I'm pretty much just calling it a 4-mile hike. We did it in like 2.5 hours. Oh no, it wasn't that long. Maybe 2 hours. But I was working on doing the rest of the increases for the heel. And when I first started, because I had some because of the video. If you watch that video, you know how many I had. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm probably going to finish doing all those increases before I'm done with this hike. And then I'm going to be hiking with nothing to do. Oh, dear. I should have brought an extra project. All right. 1 before the gap. Purl 2 together, purl 1. Turn our work. Slip the first one, knit to 1 before the gap. But anyway, and then, if you've been following along and actually doing the work, you know that as you increase, it takes longer to get to the next increase because you have more stitches to work on. And so about halfway through the hike, I was like, man, I still have a couple more to increase on. And I actually might not finish this in time. And I didn't want to come home and have to sit down for 5 minutes and finish it or whatever. But it ended up being perfect. I literally stepped foot into the parking lot to go to my car and added the last increase. It was perfect timing. All right, 1 before the gap, slip, slip, knit. And then knit the next one. See, these are becoming less. Turn our work. I love this way of doing things because I swear, I don't really feel like we're doing a heel. We're just going back and forth. We're just knitting and purling. I don't feel like we're doing a heel. But when we're done, boom, we have a heel. I feel like it's like magic. Oh, there's something not quite happy with that one. Is that better? Yeah, it's much better. I think I was between a stitch again. I prefer my metal knitting needles. I think, I started this project to leave town, and I was flying airline, and I was afraid of the metal knitting needles and the security, and so I brought my bamboo knitting needles, and they're just a little bit, like you can see, this one is super pointed and this one's not, and this one's even worse. I think years ago I filed this down trying to make it a little bit pointier, or there was like a defect in it. Yeah, I bought these long ago when I was just starting to get into knitting, and it could be really expensive to start, with all the different needles you need. And so I found these like bamboo knitting needle whole like set for like $10 or something. All right, and we are gonna purl 2 together and then purl 1. But anyway, I still have some around. If I lose them, if I've actually broken some, there's just like these basic bamboo ones. It's okay. I mean, it's not great, but I don't feel as bad about them. I've actually lost a knitting needle out on the trails. I've dropped knitting needles several times, and I'll tell you, dropping one of these out in the wilderness is not a fun thing to do. I don't recommend it. I want to get some like glow in the dark, although that really wouldn't work very well. I don't know. The metal ones are a little bit shinier, but I still had trouble one time. I dropped a knitting needle, and I searched for it like 20 minutes before I found it. But the one I did lose, I didn't know I lost. I had the bag like connected to my water backpack thing, and I reached back to pull out something. I don't know if it was the extra. Yes, it was the extra knitting needle, because I was doing the toe, and I was about ready to introduce an extra knitting needle, and I apparently another knitting needle fell out of the bag, and I didn't know. All right, we're gonna slip knit, and I was already like 2 miles away from when I think I lost the knitting needle. And I mean, I've been out there since, but I that was 8 months ago. I am definitely not going to find it ever again. So that's the only one I've lost out in the wilderness while hiking. I tend to drop stitches more than I tend to drop the knitting needles. I'm trying to be really careful about dropping the knitting needles. All right, slip and then purl. Oops. My biggest problem while hiking and knitting is what to do with the knitting real quick, like as I get my dog water or something. I tend to tuck it in. If you know anything about like hiking backpacks and stuff, they always have that strap that goes like across your chest that like links the 2 like arm straps together. And I usually just kind of like drape it in there, if that makes sense. I kind of just like hang it over. It's definitely not a permanent solution, but it is something that just kind of hangs on to it while we are stopped, so my hands are free. That's like the only like somewhat thing I haven't quite figured out the best way, because trying to put it back in the knitting bag is awful, because I usually have it zipped up almost to where there's only just the tiny little hole for the yarn to come out, because I don't want things to fall out. All right, we are going to purl 2 together. I hope you guys are doing well with this. I hope this is not confusing at all. I hope that this is making sense and this is easy for you. We are going to slip and then knit. And I hope that my talking about random stuff also is not a distraction. I just don't want to be here going, okay, we're gonna knit, and then we're gonna knit. if it is distracting, please let me know, and maybe in my next video I won't talk so much. We could just have a silent video. But I think that would be boring. But if you need to, let me know. Or I guess you could hit mute. I'm not sure. Grab some tea. We're over halfway, I think. Once again, it keeps getting longer, the amount of stitches we have to knit and purl across, so it does take a little bit longer. Even though we are decreasing the number of stitches, but we are working on more stitches on the ends. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It is hard to explain stuff without knowing if you guys are understanding it. All right, one before the gap, we are going to slip, slip, knit. You know, like if this was in person, you'd be like, hey, can you slow down? Can you show me that again? You know, I really wish I could do that. But I guess with the video, you just have to do it yourself. I guess you can slow down the video. Yeah, you should be able to change the playback. All right, we slip that one, and then we're going to purl. And I hope this lighting and view for you guys is doing well. Let me actually check to make sure it's still recording. Yes, we're at almost 32 minutes. I was wondering how long this would take me to do. I've never really timed myself, and I am, although because of the thicker yarn, I am going slower. This is probably the speed I would be going if I wasn't showing you guys, but I am struggling just a little bit compared to my normal. And I mean, the things like this are a little, well, and purling, if you can't tell, I'm a lot slower at purling than knitting. And that is because I was a dummy when I first started knitting. I didn't want to learn to purl. I was afraid of it. I didn't want to learn. I thought it would be too hard. All right. One before the gap, we are going to purl two together. And then purl and turn and slip and then knit. Yeah, I went like a year to 2 years with only knowing how to long tail cast on, knit, and then somewhat bind off. I kept having to look that one up. That's all I knew. And I don't know. I was so stubborn about wanting to expand my knitting knowledge that I didn't. So now when I purl, it's very awkward for me. I mean, I've definitely gotten better at it. I've definitely done it almost as much as I've knitted. So it's not like I, don't do it. Knitting, it's just so smooth to me, except when I do things like that. Where purling is just, I don't know, it's just something different. Let me know how you guys feel about purling. What do you like, purl or knitting? I'm kind of curious. Maybe you guys have the same thing. Maybe it's not because I waited so long. Maybe it is because I hold the yarn in my right hand and maybe that makes it awkward. I don't know. Let me know. Okay. And we're going to slip, slip, and knit. Oops. I went splitting hairs here. There we go. All right. See, we're almost there. Sorry, I've been having a lot of hand pain lately, so you have to bear with me. That's probably also another reason why I'm struggling here. When I have hand pain, actually to work on in general, smaller stuff like looser fabric is easier for me. And so I've put aside my autumn poncho because that is a thick material, and that's actually what somewhat hurt my hands to begin with. I did too much of that without taking a break, and anyway, And so I've been having to make myself knit on something completely different, a very loose stitch pattern, and it's definitely helped. At least let me continue knitting. I did have to take a couple days off or take it really slow, but that's why I like to have more than one type of project on hand, because there's some days I can work on just anything, or there's days I need to work on a different kind. All right, we are going to purl two together and then purl. Almost there. Was that 6 stitches left? Oops. Look at me. I was doing that wrong. We were supposed to slip that first one. Bad, bad, bad. Oh, if you ever want to know, some people don't know how to undo a stitch. What I do is so this is the new stitch. Here. This one and this one. This is the old stitch, this one and this one. I actually grab the back leg of the old stitch and then push this one off that knitting needle. That's all I do. I think that's called tinking back. Not the funnest thing to do, but if I find I made a mistake, I can just tink back like that. It's obviously not as fast as knitting or even as purling, but sometimes you need to do it. I hope you guys had a wonderful Halloween or De los de Muertos. Sorry, my accent's horrible. Or a happy Samhain, whatever holiday you celebrate or don't celebrate at all. All right, slip knit. A little fuzzy there in the way. Oops, oops. Only need two. And then knit one. Turn her work. Oh, look, we only have 4 left. I have a feeling we're going to be off, but I'm not sure. If so, that's fine. I can show you what to do. I tend to be off now that I only have like 15 stitches, which is why I do 28 still. I didn't change the size of the heel because it tends to be really off, where I end up finishing all these stitches but still have stitches on one side, and yeah. Then I just count how many stitches are still left, and I just like decrease as needed to get back to the same number of stitches that I originally had for the foot, and it doesn't make much of a difference in the sock. Like, I haven't noticed any difference. Also, if any of you guys have your own podcast or video cast, whatever you want to call this, or anything, please let me know. I would love to start watching yours or listening. I think it'd be nice to have a little community. All right, one before the gap, we're going to purl 2 together, purl 1, and turn our work. Actually, I think we're doing great because there's 4 left. Sweet. All right, we are going to slip. We are not going to knit that one. And then knit. I think we are technically decreasing every other stitch. So we should only have like 2 more decreases on each side, if my calculations and my knowledge is correct. I've never really paid attention. I just do it until there isn't any more to do, and I have the correct number of stitches on each needle. Sometimes I've even had to increase one. Like, whoops, I decreased too much. I'll increase 1, and it doesn't make much of a difference. Dear Lordy. That is one of my animals outside the window walking on something. I'm so sorry. That scared me. I didn't know what that was. And I have no idea if you heard it. I think you did. I think it was last time my cat, lunged at the window. That was hilarious. I'm waiting for her to lunge through here and knock my tea into my face. We'll see what happens. All right. One before the gap, we are going to slip, and then knit. And knit one. Yeah, see? Now we only have 2 when we had 4. Oops, don't pull those off. We are getting close. So close. All right, slip the first one and then purl across. If you're watching this and you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'm not really looking for fame, but it's just nice to know if people are actually liking my videos, if there's something you don't like, and you know, if the sound is not right, the lighting's not right, something that I can change, let me know. Obviously, if you just don't like my knitting, or my podcast, you don't have to watch it, but it just lets me know. I find it kind of funky that some of my videos have like over 300 views and some only have 10. I don't know how things get like advertised on Facebook, or sorry, YouTube. So I have no idea how all that works, but once again, I'm not looking for fame. I don't even get any money off of this, and that's just fine with me. I just needed an outlet to talk about my knitting. All right, one before the gap, we are going to purl 2 together. Anyway, just need an outlet, purl 1, and turn the work. Should only have 2 more to do. And that's why I started this. I just needed an outlet, a way to just sit here and talk about my knitting. I do watch a lot of podcasts, and so obviously it gave me the idea to do it. And I was like, you know what? I think it'd be nice just to have a way to yak about my knitting. Whether somebody's actually listening or not, I have no idea. I hope somebody is. That way I'm not just wasting my breath on nothing. I know at least one of my friends watches. Hi, Savannah. And I'm hoping to get a lot more knitting done this winter, to have stuff to show you guys. Still got just over a month left of school, but I think the end of the semester is going to slow down a little bit. I have been busy next couple 2 weeks, but all right, we are going to slip, knit, and then knit this one. All right, one more. We gotta go purl all the way back, decrease on the other side, and we should be good. Should be. Let's see. We're gonna slip this one. Now, we are going to want to introduce that old needle back in again. And so I'm actually going to just knit until I have the correct number of stitches on this needle, and then continue on with the other needle. That's how I do it, just to take one extra step out. So there's 3 and 4 and 5. Now I'm doing, I did the 15 stitch version, so, now I lost count because I was busy talking. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Hopefully. Should have 16 on this on this needle right now, but we'll find out. Oops, purling. It's my funky needle that's not quite sharp. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, No, I still have one more decrease, so that's why I should have 16. 10, 11, 12. If you did the 16, then you should have 17. 13, 14. Here's 15. Seriously? See? I have one extra. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Yep. Somehow I always end up with at least one extra. So what I'm going to do is still do the normal decrease. That gets us to our 16. Oh, do I have 2 extras? How many do I have on here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 4. Whoa, hold on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Oh, okay. So somehow I ended up with 2 extra stitches. So what I'm going to do is just decrease real quick here and then here. Not a big deal. All right. To try to eliminate a little bit of a hole right here, I am going to slip this first stitch. And then I'm just going to, just to make it the correct number, I'm going to go ahead and just decrease. Hopefully, if that happens to you, that's how I do it. All right, then we're gonna knit across. We are back on needle 3, okay? Which is our B needle. I know this is kind of all the way down here, but this is really our oh my god, our 3rd knitting needle. That should give us back 15. But yeah, school, I have an extra, or I have some tests next week. Dun, dun, dun. So, I probably will work on the leg. It doesn't take long to do the leg, because like I said, I do about like a 2-inch leg, which compared to the 7-inch foot, is like nothing. All right, we're going to go to our knitting needle number 4 here, which is our star needle. And knit across. I am once again going to decrease, which reminds me I need to make it even. Not that you have to, but I need to bring one over these because there's 16 on there. Now there's 15. Doesn't really make a difference if you have one extra, unless you're doing some kind of pattern or something, but I used to, when I first started knitting socks, I had a really bad time with what's called laddering, where there was a gap in your stitches. Like you can kind of see, there's like this, obviously these are the increases, but you kind of see like this bump right here. It's definitely better than it used to be, but there would be like a gap between these stitches where there was a new needle or a different needle. And so I would purposely like switch every once in a while. I would switch a couple stitches back and forth to make the laddering a little bit different, so it didn't show up as much and it was a little bit stronger, at least looking. Oops, I forgot I was going to decrease here. And then, oops. What I'm going to do is I'm going to knit this one. I'm trying to avoid that gap. And I think I'm going to slip the first one on this needle. Okay, so now we are going to, so I'll show you. Ta-da! Boom! Like magic, we now have a heel. See? Isn't it, to me, it literally feels like magic. Like, yeah, we were working. I have no idea what I did there. I don't know. I probably went through a piece of string, so I don't know. Anyway, boom, we have a heel. To me, it feels like magic because, yes, you do feel, for me, I feel the increases, but then we do this quick little like 30-minute episode and boom, we're done with our heel. Ta-da! We have this now. We have this curve in our foot. Now I am going to just work on the leg part, which is this part right here. So we are right there. And we're going to go back to our regular knitting, whatever pattern you're doing, like I said. If you had some kind of pattern here, I would recommend doing it all the way around now. If it's a bumpy pattern, it doesn't matter. Where I said here, you don't want it down here because it might feel harsh on your feet or not be as strong, especially here where you're going to want some strength. But that's what I do with my leg. And then knit to whatever length you want. Some people do their socks by knitting or by counting the number of rows they've done. I do by just a tape measure. I measure things. To me, it's just easier. I don't have to really keep up with it. I just have to look at it and go, oh, I think I'm getting close. Pull out the measuring tape and go, nope, a little bit longer. Where if you're counting the rows, I'm like, oh my gosh, oops, did I remember to write down that I did an extra row or another row or whichever. I find that a little bit tedious. I definitely have done it in the past, but if I can get away with not doing it, it's always a little bit better. Okay, now, like I said, so a lot of times there tends to be a gap, which I've been doing pretty well. Here's kind of a bad one. And I started doing some more slip stitches here to try to help with this. This is by no means going to ever not really ever come apart, but by no means is this ever going to unravel. It's more like a yarn over, but not really. But, so I used to go back and tie a little knot with some extra yarn right there to kind of bring those together. But when I'm wearing them, I don't care. If there's a little gap right there, it doesn't make any difference to me. I'm not nitpicky about my socks enough to do that. And I was always afraid the little knot would bother me. It doesn't, but I just don't care enough. So what if there's a tiny little gappy feel there? I try to avoid it, but hopefully, I don't know if anybody else has that same problem. So trying to avoid that here, I'm going to try to slip this stitch. Not sure if it's going to help. It might actually make things worse. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? I have been doing that, so let me not do that. Let me see what happens if you don't do that. See, to me, it doesn't. See how there's going to be that gap? Maybe I will. I don't know. Anyway, then we're going to continue on our pattern. Back to the spiral. All the hard parts are over. The next somewhat hard part would be just the bind off, because I do this stretchy bind off, which is not horrible. It's just a little bit extra step to the bind off. You just do a pretty much a yarn over between each bind off stitch. So it just adds in an extra stitch and it causes it to be nice and stretchy. So it's different, but it really isn't hard at all. All right, continuing pattern. Once again, if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I try to look at them, especially these lesson ones. If I don't get to, I apologize. I don't know if you can if you can directly message me on YouTube. I don't know if that works that way, but just get you to the next needle, which is our needle number 3. And I will let you know pretty much from now on, other than the beginning. This is where the hole always ends up being. See? And sometimes I used to grab like one down here. And that one. Like, I used to do this. And then knit those two together. Yeah, that's better. So you can definitely do that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really care. But what was I saying? Oh, from now on, it doesn't really matter which needles are which, except just knowing which is our starting side, which is this one over here. You can also think of it as, at least at this point, the one after the heel, which is our needle 1. So if you want to move the markers, or at least one marker here, you're more welcome to. I will just keep these like this for you guys. It's kind of weird having all this extra jingle jangle, but there you go. I also find myself doing something funny when I'm doing the toe and the foot. I flatten it like this because, I mean, that's how the toe fits, you know. And then once I do the heel, or at least the increase for the heel, then I switch the flattening. So let me know if you guys do that too. But okay, I think that is it. I'm going to leave it at that. This will be loaded tomorrow night when I'm at school. And today is November the 5th. So if you know then go ahead and if you haven't already, watch V for Vendetta, which is what I'm about to do after I make myself some dinner. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.